Haribol, Namaste. My name is Janapati Das. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and the Krishna Katha story continues. Please accept my most humble obeisances. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, unto Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are going to continue with the story of Lord Balarama returning to returning to Vrindavan. So we're going to get into that story today. Of course, right now we're just going to engage in the hearing and repeating of Krishna's most holy names. So please join along. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Siddhaswarupananda Paramam Sayati Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Siddhaswarupananda Paramam Sayati Namine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So welcome back. As we were reading from our last time, we read into the story of Banasura and how Krishna had cut off all of his arms, and there were so many things that went on, and you can go back into the previous chapters to listen to it. So all things end well with Krishna. You know, there was this conflict, right, with his grandson Aniruddha and Aniruddha's fiancée Usha, and then Banasura was involved, and Banasura was arrested Aniruddha for being around his daughter. And then there was, of course, a great fight between the Yadu dynasty and Lord Shiva and Banasura, and there were Brahmastras and Shiva Jvanara, I can say that word again, Narayana-jvaras, great Brahmastra fights and prayers and victory for Krishna, and all's well that ends well. It ended well, and we are continuing with the story in the Krishna book. And I'm going to get to it right now. If I can find it. There's the Krishna book. All right. The story is Lord Balaram visits Vrindavan. So it's very exciting. Okay, so Krishna and Balaram, of course, have been away from Vrindavan. Although by the words of the great sages and saints and scholars, Krishna and Balaram never leave Vrindavan. So when they went to Mathura, actually, it's known by the great scholars that Krishna stayed in Vrindavan. There was an expansion of Krishna that went to Mathura. So that's the general consensus of this. But for the purpose of our stories, we'll continue. Lord Balaram became very anxious to see his father and mother, Maharaj Nanda and Yashoda. Therefore, he started for Vrindavan on a chariot with great enthusiasm. The inhabitants of Vrindavan had been anxious to see Krishna and Balaram for a very long time. When Lord Balaram returned to Vrindavan, all the cowherd boys and the gopis had grown up. But still, on his arrival, they all embraced him, and Balaram embraced them in reciprocation. After this, he became more before Maharaj Nanda and Yashoda and offered his respectful obeisances unto them. In response, Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj offered their blessings unto him. They addressed him as Jagadishvara, or the Lord of the Universe. So sometimes we Jagadisha in the prayer of Lord Nrsingadev. But this one is Jagadishvara, or the Lord of the Universe who maintains everyone. The reason for this was that both Krishna and Balaram maintain all living entities, and yet Nanda and Yashoda were put into such difficulties on account of their absence. Feeling like this, they embraced Balaram and seating him on their laps, began their perpetual crying, wetting Balaram with their tears. Lord Balaram then offered his respectful obeisances to the elderly cowherd men and accepted the obeisances of the younger cowherd men. Thus, according to their different ages and relationships, Lord Balaram exchanged feelings of friendship with them. He shook hands with those who were his equals in age and friendship, and with loud laughing embraced each one of them. After being received by the cowherd men and boys, the gopis, and King Nanda and Yashoda, Lord Balaram sat down, feeling satisfied, and they all surrounded him. First, Lord Balaram inquired from them about their welfare, and then, not having seen him for such a long time, they began to ask him different questions. The inhabitants of Vrindavan had sacrificed everything for Krishna, simply being captivated by the lotus eyes of the Lord. Because of their great desire to love Krishna, they never desired anything like elevation to the heavenly planets or merging into the effulgence of Brahman to become one with the absolute truth. So this, in general, practices of, I guess you could say, so-called meditation in different kinds of Vedic rituals and rules. The tendency was to try to be elevated to the heavenly planets at the end of your life, or merge into the great white light or the Brahman effulgence. But as it's been stated many times, especially by my spiritual master and Bhaktivedanta and all the great saints and sages, the highest form of love and happiness is bhakti, is love for Bhagavan, love for God, love for Krishna. So these simple cowherd men and people of Vrindavan were in the highest spiritual state by their love for Krishna, that they had absolutely no interest in material enjoyment or elevation to the heavenly planets, which are where there's so much material enjoyment, or merging into the Brahman effulgence, which is considered to be incredibly blissful, although it's temporary. They were not even interested in enjoying a life of opulence, but were satisfied in living a simple life in the village as cowherd men. They were always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna and did not desire any personal benefits. And they were all so much in love with him that in his absence their voices faltered when they began to inquire from Balaramaji. First, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai inquired, "My dear Balarama, are our friends like Vasudeva and others in the family doing well? Now you and Krishna are grown-up married men with children. In the happiness of family life, do you sometimes remember your poor father and mother, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Devi? It is very good news that the most sinful King Kamsa has been killed by you, and that our friends like Vasudeva and the others who had been harassed by him have now been relieved. It is also very good news that both you and Krishna defeated Jartsanda and Kalayavana, who is now dead, and that you are now living in a fortified residence in Dwarka." When the gopis arrived, Lord Balaram glanced over them with loving eyes. Being overjoyed, the gopis, who had so long been mortified on account of Krishna's and Balaram's absence, began to ask about the welfare of the two brothers. They specifically asked Balaram whether Krishna was enjoying his life surrounded by the enlightened women of Dwarka Puri. Does he sometimes remember his father Nanda and his mother Yashoda and the other friends with whom he so intimately behaved while he was in Vrindavan? Does Krishna have any plans to come here to see his mother Yashoda? And does he remember us gopis who are now pitiably bereft of his company? Krishna might have forgotten us in the midst of the cultured women of Dwarka, but as far as we are concerned, we are still remembering him by collecting flowers and sewing them into garlands. When he does not come, however, we simply pass our time by crying. If only he would come here and accept these garlands that we have made. Dear Lord Balaram, descendant of Darshara, you know that we would give up everything for Krishna's friendship. Even in great distress, one cannot give up the connection of family members. But although it might be impossible for others, we gave up our fathers, mothers, sisters, and relatives without caring at all about our renunciation. Then all of a sudden, Krishna renounced us and went away. He broke off our intimate relationship without any serious consideration and left for a foreign country. But he was so clever and cunning that he manufactured very nice words. He said, "My dear gopis, please do not worry. The service you have rendered me is impossible for me to repay. After all, we are women, so how could we disbelieve him? Now we can understand that his sweet words were simply for cheating us." Another gopi, protesting Krishna's absence from Vrindavan, began to say, "My dear Balaramaji, we are of course village girls. So Krishna could cheat us in that way, but what about the women of Dwarka? Don't think they are as foolish as we are. We village women might be misled by Krishna, but the women of the city of Dwarka are very clever and intelligent. Therefore, I would be surprised if such city women would be misled by Krishna and could believe his words." Then another gopi began to speak. "My dear friend," she said, "Krishna is very clever in using words. No one can compete with him in that art. He can manufacture such colorful words and talk so sweetly that the heart of any woman would be misled. Besides that, he has perfected the art of smiling very attractively." Yes, very sweet smile. And by seeing his smile, women become mad after him and would give themselves to him without any hesitation. Another gopi, after hearing this, said, "My dear friends, what is the use in talking about Krishna? If you are at all interested in passing away time by talking, let us talk on some subject other than him. If cruel Krishna can pass his time without us, why can't we pass our time without Krishna? Of course, Krishna is passing his days very happily without us, but the difference is that we cannot pass our days very happily without him." When the gopis were talking in this way, their feelings for Krishna became more and more intensified, and they were experiencing Krishna's smiling, Krishna's words of love, Krishna's attractive features, Krishna's characteristics, and Krishna's embraces. By the force of their ecstatic feelings, it appeared to them that Krishna was personally present and dancing before them. Because of their sweet remembrance of Krishna, they could not check their tears, and they began to cry without consideration. Lord Balaram could, of course, understand the ecstatic feelings of the gopis, and therefore he wanted to pacify them. He was expert in presenting an appeal, and thus, treating the gopis very respectfully, he began to narrate the stories of Krishna so tactfully that the gopis became satisfied. In order to keep the gopis in Vrindavan satisfied, Lord Balaram stayed there continually for 2 months, namely the months of Chaitra, March and April, and Vaishakha, April and May. For those 2 months, he kept himself among the gopis, and he passed every night with them in the forest of Vrindavan in order to satisfy their desire for conjugal love. Thus Balaram also enjoyed the rasa dance with the gopis during those two months. Since the season was springtime, the breeze on the bank of the Jamuna was blowing very mildly, carrying the aroma of different flowers, especially of the flower known as Kaumudi. Moonlight filled the sky and spread everywhere, and thus the banks of the Jamuna appeared to be very bright and pleasing, and Lord Balaram enjoyed the company of the gopis there. The demigod known as Varuna sent his daughter Varuni in the form of liquid honey, oozing from the hollows of the trees. Because of this honey, the whole forest became aromatic, and the sweet aroma of the liquid honey Varuni captivated Balaramaji. Balaramaji and all the gopis became very much attracted by the taste of Varuni, and all of them drank it together. While drinking this natural beverage, Varuni, the gopis chanted the glories of Lord Balaram, and Lord Balaram felt very happy, as if he had become intoxicated by drinking that Varuni beverage. His eyes rolled in a pleasing attitude. He was decorated with long garlands of forest flowers, and the whole situation appeared to be a great function of happiness because of this transcendental bliss. Lord Balaram smiled beautifully, and the drops of perspiration decorating his face appeared to be soothing morning dew. Beautiful. While Balaram was in that happy mood, he desired to enjoy the company of the gopis in the water of the Jamuna. Therefore, he called Jamuna to come nearby. But Jamuna neglected the order of Balaramaji, considering him to be intoxicated. Lord Balaram became very much displeased at Jamuna's neglecting his order. He immediately wanted to scratch the land near the river with his plowshare. Lord Balaram has 2 weapons, a plow and a club, and he takes service from them when they are required. This time, he wanted to bring the Jamuna by force, and he took the help of his plow. He wanted to punish Jamuna because she did not come in obedience to his order. He addressed Jamuna, "You wretched river, you did not care for my order. Now I shall teach you a lesson. You did not come to me voluntarily. Now, with the help of my plow, I shall force you to come. I shall divide you into hundreds of scattered streams." When Jamuna was threatened like this, she became greatly afraid of the power of Balaram, and immediately came in person, falling at his lotus feet and praying thus: "My dear Balaram, you are the most powerful personality, and you are pleasing to everyone. Unfortunately, I forgot your glorious exalted position, but now I have come to my senses, and I remember that you hold all the planetary systems on your head merely by your partial expansion of Shesha." Of course, Shesha is the, Ananga Shesha, right? Over Lord Vishnu, the great snake's umbrella. You are the sustainer of the whole universe. My dear Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are full of six opulences. Because I forgot your omnipotence, I have mistakenly disobeyed your order, and thus I have become a great offender. But, my dear Lord, please know that I am a surrendered soul unto you. You are very much affectionate to your devotees, so therefore please excuse my impudence and mistakes, and by your causeless mercy, may you now release me. Upon displaying the submissive attitude, Jamuna was forgiven, and when she came nearby, Lord Balaram wanted to enjoy the pleasure of swimming within her water along with the gopis. In the same way, an elephant enjoys himself along with his many she-elephants. After a long time, when Lord Balaram had enjoyed to his full satisfaction, he came out of the water, and immediately a goddess of fortune offered him a nice blue garment and a valuable necklace made of gold. After taking bath in the Jamuna, Lord Balaram, dressed in blue garments and decorated with golden ornaments, looked very attractive to everyone. Lord Balaram's complexion is white, and when he was properly dressed, he looked exactly like the white elephant of King Indra in the heavenly planet. The river Jamuna still has many small branches due to being scratched by the plowshare of Lord Balaram, and all these broad branches of the river Jamuna still glorify the omnipotency of Lord Balaram. Of course, we have Lord Balaram behind me, beautiful blue dhoti and beautiful whiteness of his skin. Lord Balaram and the gopis enjoyed transcendental pastimes every night for 2 months, and time passed away so quickly that all those nights appeared to be only one night. In the presence of Lord Balaram, all the gopis and inhabitants of Vrindavan became as cheerful as they had been before in the presence of both brothers, Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport of the second volume, 10th chapter of Krishna. Lord Balaram visits Vrindavan. Such a beautiful story. This is just glorious. Just to hear the descriptions of Lord Balaram and how beautiful the scenery of Vrindavan. So our next story, it's such a funny story, and it's a story that is just wonderful. It's about King Pandraka, but it does take a bit of reading, and getting into. So I think I'm going to save that for a separate class because it's such a long story, and I don't really want to cut into it and just not finish it. So otherwise, this video might be over an hour long. So we will continue next time with the deliverance of Pandraka and the king of Kashi. And until then, let's do some more chanting. Thank you very much. Okay, that's a short and sweet class for today. Thank you very much. Please, if you haven't, I've got a lot of videos in here that you can see and watch and comment on. Get my words out. Comment on, make suggestions, any questions that you have there. If you know friends who are interested in hearing the Christian story, please share this channel with them. Until then, we will see you for the next story next time. Haribo.